welcome to Round Robin. I'm Selene Guerrero with the City of Hampton, and with us today we have Healthy Families Consultant Alvean Lyons. Welcome, Alvean. How are you?
I'm excited.
Oh, me too, because we are talking about a subject that is very near and dear to me, and that's making it work, military marriages and families.
I know. Even our outfits.
Our outfits. I got my little military coat on, not official, but and then you have your purple for Military Month, which is in April.
Indeed.
What is it? It's the military child. Yes.
Absolutely. But every military family knows that it's always the children.
Yes.
So it makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does.
So today we get to talk about the tough stuff.
It is.
About
it's
being
tough.
a military family. There's a lot, and people forget, that the sacrifice is not just on the field. That while you're on the battlefield, while you're on assignment, while you're deployed, yes, there is unequivocally for the soldier the sacrifice that happens out there, and God forbid the ultimate sacrifice. But what people don't realize is the impact that that has on the marriage and the family every single day. That there is so much that goes on to try to make this thing work that it's greatly underestimated, to say the least.
It truly is.
And you are a military
And
mom.
I am. My husband's in the Navy. We've been married for 12 years, and he's been in the Navy the entire time.
Wow.
We have 2 kids, and 9 and 3 years old, and it is a challenge. It is a challenge because I am a single parent a lot of the time, and he is gone often, and with a full-time job and kids in the school and 2 dogs, and I sit back at the end of the night, at the end of the day, and I'm thinking, how did I do it? But I have to do it again tomorrow.
Absolutely, and keep doing it for months at a time.
Yes.
And there's a unique stress that comes with that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's immense love, and that is in no small measure. Just what it takes to just keep that love going and to be in love and to maintain it and to nurture it. But it is very intentional and has to be very intentional because all of the things that are natural to most people who are not military families, the going to sleep with your spouse every night, waking up to them basically every morning, knowing that you have somebody that you get to share all of the stresses and the responsibilities with. When your kids are going through things, you actually have somebody you can say, hey, the kid is crying. Can you, I got last night, can you get tonight? Or there's a new ear infection or teenage issues, whatever it is, but you get to pass that off to someone in ways that we often take for granted as non-military families that you guys don't get to do. And you constantly have to be prepared for quick adjustments and major things in your life. So let's talk about one of the things that a lot of people don't talk about, that hole. When a spouse leaves, there is a hole that is created. And most of us moms and wives do what our due diligence requires. We fill that hole in.
Exactly.
And we fill it in, absolutely. And we fill it in with lots of things. Sometimes we have to bring other people into our worlds in order to, help balance with the responsibilities and the work. Sometimes it's about making sure that, okay, now I'm the person who does A, B, C, and D. Whether it's I'm the person who pays the bills if that wasn't you before. I'm the person who makes sure that the cars get fixed, that the kids get taken care of, that the dog is handled. We fill in those holes. But then our partner comes home.
Homecoming, it's exciting. It's
and what
supposed
happens?
to be good. And then he's home, and it's this unspoken awkwardness. Yes, homecomings are supposed to be happy, but now he's home, and this routine that you had with your children, and this routine that you had, for yourself, he doesn't fit into the routine
because you filled the hole.
Right. And it's very difficult to find your footing and to make it work, and it is hard work.
Absolutely.
It really is, and a lot of communication. And we learned very early on we have to talk to one another. And I was very much the kind that when our daughter was born, he wasn't there for the birth.
Right.
He didn't meet her until she was 6 months old. So I had done everything for this baby. This baby was mine.
Your baby, absolutely, 100%. Thank you for donating, but this, this is my baby.
My baby.
Right.
So he comes in and he wants to, instant family, and he wants to swoop in and change diapers, but he's not doing it the right way. And he's not feeding her the right way, and she's not supposed to eat that, and there was a lot of arguing.
Absolutely.
And we had to just step back and realize, this isn't working, and it could have not worked.
Absolutely.
But we talked and we communicated, and things were great, but then he was gone again.
And here comes a new hole.
Right.
And that's the thing that when we don't address the realities of that, that having an active spouse means that there's going to be these consistent times that you might not always be able to predict, because you don't know always when the deployment, if there is an emergency and something changes, you don't always know. You don't always know when the papers are going to come through.
Right.
So you always have to be on guard. So the instinct is to always be prepared, to fulfill.
And have a backup plan.
Absolutely, in whatever way you need to. And in so doing, sometimes when we fill in that hole, almost like when you take a scoop of Jell-O out and then the Jell-O just kind of blends its way back together when it's just a little bit warm. So it's almost like you couldn't tell that the scoop came out. That happens in the marriages. So when he leaves, you fill that space back in. But when he comes back, he needs a space to be able to fit back in. So when you create that space, everything's lovely for that period of time, but you already know that he's going to leave again, so the space is going to happen again. And so your reflex response is to just leave it full, because I already know I'm going to have to keep doing it, and it's a little less painful sometimes if I just keep it the way that it is. Yeah. But what it creates in a marriage is separation. And if we want to maintain the intimacy and the connection that brought us together in the first place, then that actually means that I have to consistently be willing to create space for you in a world that I've figured out. I've figured out how to do this without you. But
it's
now,
almost like you're including them now.
Right.
And it's very hard. And now, 12 years, multiple deployments. We kind of have it down.
Right.
So he comes back, and it kind of we just flow, and we just go, and we do life that way. And but before, it was just very hard, because for me, I was very set in my ways. Like, this is a routine. The kids need the routine, and the routine still stays in play. But now Daddy's here, and now Daddy can help you, and Daddy can give you the bedtime story. And hey, Daddy's going to be making dinner tonight, and and making that a normal. It's a new normal, but the kids are also just excited.
Of course.
While I'm holding back and like, you're doing that wrong. But hey, he's here, and he's doing it. And I don't have to roll the trash can out anymore.
He's got this.
He's got it.
And that's the thing. Like, sometimes we don't talk about what the process is really going to be like. That it is going to have these peaks and these valleys, and you have to be prepared for the up and the down. And a lot of times we romanticize the excitement of the person coming home.
It is exciting.
Sounds wonderful. But it means that an adjustment is going to have to follow.
Exactly.
And it is no different than when we get married. Lots of people plan for the wedding, but they're not thinking about what the marriage is going to require. It's like having a baby. Lots of people are excited the baby's going to get here, but you don't think about all the sleepless nights you're going to have. That sleep deprivation. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. And then they end up being teenagers, and they're so perfect when they're little, and they have no opinions, and they think that you're flawless, and then they become teenagers, and they realize you're imperfect, and they have an attitude about it. Like, you just don't always think about what the whole process is, because you haven't been through it before. But what has to be true is you've got to be honest about it. There can sometimes be some resentment about the fact that it has been tough at home, and you've been gone this whole time, without necessarily recognizing how tough it has been for the partner to be away. That it is hard for them too, that both of you are experiencing your own set of sacrifices and your own sets of fears and resentments and nervousness. I mean, many of the soldiers that I've talked to over the years worry about coming home and not being good enough. That somehow I might have been an incredible soldier, but what if I'm not an amazing husband? Or if I don't know how to be a great dad now, because they've done all this life without me? Is there a space for for me when I come back. And it sounds fabulous to come home, but there's all kinds of adjustments that come with that.
Definitely.
And couples who don't talk through it and families that don't work through it generally don't make it. And it's a shame that having given such a huge sacrifice for your country, you end up having to sacrifice your family in the process. And there aren't enough conversations being had in support of the real work that comes back or comes with the soldiers coming back home.
Right, and it is, and specifically for the kids. Now, you know, you're a married couple, you don't have kids, and you're deploying and all that. Now you have kids, and I have small kids. I have a 3-year-old who doesn't quite understand where is Daddy, and every day he asks, is Daddy coming home? And every day I'm saying, you know, Daddy's working on the boats, and he has to sleep on the boat, and he has to be on the boat, but he doesn't get time, so I can't tell him, you know, he'll be home at the end of May, you know, he doesn't get that. And just, you know, for me, it's heartbreaking, but helping them cope, and I do use a lot of distraction with my kids. We're doing something, weekends, we're out, soccer games, going out to, now that the weather's nicer, going out for walks, hikes, bike rides. I try to keep it very active and try to keep their mind and mine
on something else.
Dad's not home. And it is very difficult, but you know, that's where you also begin to rely on friends and neighbors, and you build your own community of support.
People, of support. And you have to be okay with that. You know, recognizing that you're not going to be able to do it all by yourself. You know, while we're sort of holding that space open for our partner, you have to recognize that that space has to be a very flexible space. You know, that this thing that I have to fill in, you know, I can put in extra people and let them be a part of our worlds. But I also have to make sure that they haven't replaced my partner in the process. You know, figuring out how to find that gentle balance between that is not always the easiest thing, but it's one of the things that is really necessary in order to keep a healthy relationship. And the kids have to know too. You know, of course, you're absolutely right. At certain ages developmentally, they can't process. You know, time is a very abstract concept, you know, like, so they can't process what that means. I mean, literally, like for some kids, it's like, okay, it's going to be 3 TV shows before we get there. You know, like that's about all they could understand at that age.
Countdowns work wonderfully. You know? We do have a calendar, and we mark off the days.
The days,
And for longer deployments, we do M&Ms, so they take one M&M or kisses out of a jar, and you know, when that jar is getting close to being empty,
Daddy's going to be
we
home.
know that Daddy will be back.
And those are wonderful, wonderful ideas. I mean, just helping a child wrap their mind sort of around something that is really challenging to understand, for the peace and emotional well-being of the kids is excellent. But we can't deny the fact that for us as adults who are very aware of time, very aware of what it is that you're going to miss out on, very aware of the fact that I had to do all of these things without you on both ends. That can be very challenging for us in finding a good space for us as adults so that we are not then affecting how our children relate, because they are very responsive to how we handle it. If we make it seem like this is a horrible thing, then to the kids it will be a horrible thing. If we make it seem like this is part of our world and here's what we do, and yes, we miss him, and we acknowledge those feelings. We miss him, and we might need to FaceTime Daddy, or we might need to, you know, Daddy can call this weekend and he's going to read a story to you over the phone. We may find ways to be able to do those things, but we've got to be open to, flexible with, honest about everything that comes with this process, so that we're not sweeping things under the carpet.
And it makes it easier knowing that, hey, he's going to be gone for 6 to 8 months. These are 6 to 8 months that it's just going to be me and the
you
kids.
guys,
And it's very important for me to take time for myself. Because I'm going all the time. I have a babysitter that I call and I rely on, and Sunday afternoons or Saturday afternoons, I need her for a few hours, and I take that time. I go and have a pedicure, manicure, haircut, whatever. But just getting that time for yourself is so important.
Absolutely. Because what's so beautiful about what you're speaking to is that's the stuff that prevents the resentment that can build up.
Yep.
When I have lost me in the process of trying to, you know, do what I need to do for you, it's really hard to feel good about something that I'm going to be in for a long time if we stay married. You know, so I need to find a way to still take care of me, to do what I need to stay the healthiest version of me so I can be the best mom to them and the best supportive partner to you. Means that I have to take time for myself. I have to remember that Selene needs to have her own moments. And there's nothing selfish about that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is part of the natural caretaking of oneself.
Exactly.
When you are your best you, everybody else benefits. And that's true whether you're a military mom or not.
Exactly, yes.
But becomes even more increasingly important when you're a military spouse because of the kind of demand. Because it's not always just the moms. Sometimes it's the moms that are deployed and the dads are trying to figure out how to do this also. So regardless of which one of you is deployed, recognizing that you've got to take care of yourself and do the things you need to do for yourself so that you are not empty trying to fill up your children is essential to your own mental, emotional, and spiritual health across the board.
Definitely. And I do want to add, as far as having a support system, the family readiness groups on the ships are excellent during deployments, and I encourage spouses to be a part of those groups, to be involved in the events that they have, the countdowns that they have, being in contact with the ships, in my case, the ombudsman for the ship, just knowing, because sometimes when they are gone and you don't hear from them, your mind wanders and you start thinking, oh my gosh, you know, what happened? And having just that one connection, like, hey, just shoot an email to the ombudsman. Is everything okay? I haven't heard from my husband in a week or two. And just having that reassurance, no, they're fine, you know, they're just, communications are down or something like that. It's great for my sanity because I'm like, oh, okay, I know.
My baby's okay,
Yes, he's good.
Indeed.
And I can keep going.
Indeed.
So.
And in additional support, recognizing that within your communities, reach out, whether it's your faith community that for you, if that's something that's part of your life, whether that's your local organizations that you can get involved in, parenting programs, classes, all of those kinds of things help to create a network of people who care about you, understand what it is that you're going through, and are there to help support you. You never have to do it on your own, although there are elements of it that are unequivocally emotionally by yourself. As much as one can have a network of support, it is important that you create one, because it's a lot to ask of anybody to figure out how to parent and live all on their own when their spouse is gone.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I rely heavily on friends and neighbors because we don't have family here. And I've learned to tell myself it's okay to ask for help. And it really is. And most of the time, you know, before I would think, oh gosh, you know, I'm being a burden by asking my friend's husband to come and fix my sink that's like overflowing or whatever, you know. But it's not, you know, it's okay, and they don't see it, and they understand. Because, you know, chances are in this area, they have some kind of connection to the military.
Absolutely.
So they know.
And for those of us who are not, quite honestly, we actually find it a privilege to be able to support those, because we aren't serving our country the way that you or your partner may be serving the country. But if we can serve you while you serve us, we kind of feel like we've done something good too. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm thrilled that you have what you need, and give people the opportunity to be part of that also. I mean, like, we actually, those of us good ones actually really like knowing that on some level we're sort of in it together.
Well, thank you so much, Alvean, for coming on and discussing this very important topic that is, like I said, very near and dear to me and many others.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for the service and sacrifice your family is making for our nation.
You're welcome. I truly appreciate that. And thank you so much for watching.